Hi, this is Amrita Sukumar, and I'm bringing to you this podcast called Unsettling. Look around you. Everyone is trying to create their own story. Make a tiny change in someone's life by just following their passion and, in turn, inspiring the others to follow suit. This podcast brings to you stories of people who have defied the definition of settled set by the society and have created their own. They have found happiness in their version of settled. What is yours? Hey listeners, welcome to another episode of Unsettling. Today I have with me someone who is an entrepreneur, an ecology major, and also someone who loves to research. She has completed her PhD and can also be called as the doctor of plants because she has all the answers to everything that is green. She has created a diligent following on the digital platform with her venture Garden Up. If you have not guessed it yet, I have with me Dr. Ekta Chaudhary. Hi Ekta, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Amrita. It's such a pleasure.
I'm also glad that you found the time to be on my podcast. So, how's your day been? How have you been dealing with the lockdown?
I've been okay. I mean, of course, the pressure of work, household work, and general work has increased, but it's been fine. I am probably privileged. I have the luxury of a house, and my income is not so much affected, so I
Right.
can't complain.
I'm so glad. So, how was your journey before your startup? How did you get drawn to researching about ecology?
So, I think since childhood, one thing I was always clear about in life is what I don't want to do. So, I was never clear on what I really want to do, but I was always very clear what I don't want to do. So, that now, whatever 3 decades of my life, I realized that sort of set path for whatever I did in life. So, for example, when I was in 11th, 12th, I was like, I want to do study biology probably, but I definitely don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be an engineer. So, okay, let's take biology, but let's, study for 12 boards.
Okay.
Then when I got my marks for 12 boards, I was like, okay, I can't do physics because I didn't have mathematics. I can't do chemistry because I didn't have mathematics. Zoology, I don't want to do specifically. Botany, I don't want to do. So I'm left with this option of life sciences. So I did life sciences. And
Wow.
then at so in masters also I was like, okay, I don't want to do this and this and this, so I have these options and probably environmental science looks best. So
Okay.
that this way I think my entire career trajectory has been defined by things that I didn't want to do. So and that's how I ended up with a PhD, because when I finished my masters I was like, I definitely don't want to do a corporate job or any kind of like a 9 to 5 job.
Right.
So I was definitely curious about the natural ecosystems. So it was like, okay, so I have options such as PhD. I can be a scientist, because you can be a scientist without a PhD too.
Right.
But your promotions are dependent on if you have a PhD degree or not. So it's like, okay, then I have this option and this looks the best option. Let's do a PhD. So, and then when I finished my PhD, again, the same thing happened. So I think, yes, that's how I arrived to my PhD or whatever, studying ecology.
Oh wow. So like you found your path via negation. That's a good way to find your direction, I guess. Hope people listen to this and
Yeah.
find inspiration.
It reminds me of that MCQ questions you get in entrance exams, right? When you don't know the answer, but you're like, ये नहीं हो सकता, ये नहीं हो सकता, ये होना चाहिए. Sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So your profile mentions that you have researched about sustainable farming practices in the Himalayas. So Ekta, can you tell us a little more about that?
Yeah. So in my master's, we have to do a dissertation for 6 months.
Acha.
And actually, that was the first time I visited ISC. I did my dissertation from ISC. So my master's was from Forest Research Institute, and there they had like 6 months where you can do your research, like a small project in any subject or anything that is of interest to you.
Okay.
So I started working with ISC. There's a Center for Sustainable Technologies, and they had a project in Uttarakhand, in Chamoli and Rudraprayag. So we had to basically talk to the farmers there. And this was really interesting for me because I come from a farmer family, but the setup of farmers that, Haryana or Punjab have is very different from most parts of the country, I feel. So the land size was much smaller in Uttarakhand. they have either canal or they have steps, which is the steps are much smaller than Keela, which is the styes that Haryana or Punjab has.
Okay.
And they were majorly dependent on that, or most of the kids were in the army. So that was like two kind of livelihood. So I was looking at their vulnerability to climate change, or to be more specific, uh, the changes in climate, not like, like the big term climate change, but how once it rains a lot, but the other season it just doesn't rain. So this variability in climate or weather, how these farmers respond to it, and how does that affect them and their livelihood. So I was looking at that part for Chamoli and Rudraprayag farmers. Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. That must have been a wonderful experience for you also living there. Plus, you are already from Haryana, so you know the place well as, I mean, you know the climate a little better, I think, as compared to
Yeah, the
us.
kind of plants they grew was very different. They were very much dependent on Malta. Malta is something like orange. So they would
Acha.
make like 10 kinds of things from Malta,
Mhm.
juices, jams, and it was very interesting, like how every household had a Malta tree, and
Ah,
everybody was making some kind of a squash or something. So they had like a side income from that. Malta was such a thing there. So yes, it was quite an exposure, and I loved that part of 6 months where, and the houses were so away, so we had to climb like a part of the hill to go to one house, and in the same village they were kilometers away. In Chamoli there was no electricity, they only had generators, and that was constrained to like 2 hours a day, something like that. So
okay.
yes, it was definitely an experience.
Wow. So, when did you come up with the concept of Garden Up? What inspired you to start the same?
In 2017, so I had just finished my field work.
Mhm.
Uh, that was in Mudumalai Tiger Reserve, and until then, I'd mostly spent my time in jungles, or, like I said, in parts of Uttarakhand during my masters. And only I think bachelor's, when I did my bachelor's from Delhi University, that was the only time where I was not like in touch of farm or a jungle, of because at home also there was, because we come from a farming community, so it was always part of our bringing up.
Mhm.
uh, and when I finished my field work in Tamil Nadu and came back to Bangalore to write papers, that was probably the first time where, I didn't have plants around me, and I had to like do like a proper desk job where I had to sit and write the papers, do statistics,
Right.
analyze my data, and I really missed the plants, and I wanted to have just a couple of them. So I started with one plant, then it
Uh-huh.
became probably 30, 40, and 15, this tiny hostel room I had. We had like a stealing gang in ISC. They have beautiful plant collection. They have
Yes.
lots of plants around the campus, so we would go at night and steal cuttings, and
Uh-huh.
my friends knew, they would also come. We had cycles. So when all of this was happening, I realized that, there are so many problems related to plants. And when I went online,
Mhm.
to which everybody does, right? So I was like, whatever anyone is explaining related to gardening, it seems like they're explaining like a protocol, like it's a science protocol, but nobody explains the why of it.
Right.
Okay, you do this, but you do it for this reason. You take a cutting at a node because, rooting hormone or whatever growth hormone will come out of it. So
Right.
that why part was missing.
Uh-huh.
So since I had a research background, and I thought I could do a better storytelling, so that's how I was like, okay. uh, and I had a friend who was, recording videos for some academy, so he already had the equipment.
Okay.
And just like a joke, I convinced my friend to sell those equipment to me at 50% of the price. I forced him literally. And
Oh God.
yeah, so yeah, that's how it started.
Wow, that's that's a wonderful story. So when you say that you went online to find certain answers to questions, and that is how you found the why of it, you have come up with some really quirky solutions. Like I saw one of the solutions you gave was using soap solution on infected plants. How did you discover that?
Right.
Because
So honestly, there's nothing that is very, I mean, I didn't discover it. It was already there. The only thing is that the way people explained, or, gardening, people in the world of gardening, the way they explained was very difficult to understand perhaps, or it lacks that storytelling behind it so that the audience understands. So the reason this works is because, the soap or the detergent interferes with the growth of that insect, and it's a soft body insect. So when you put soap on it, it's a concentrated solution. It will lose out it. I mean, it cannot. The basic function of that insect will not work when there's soap on the outer lining of that insect, and ultimately it'll shrivel and it'll die, and within few hours. So uh, this is the logic behind it, and it's not like I discovered it was already there. I think the only thing I probably did was simplify the story and tell it to people.
Right, right. I think, yeah, that is why people are connecting more to your page, because I've seen a lot of people coming with a lot of queries. So, how do you feel that your background in education has helped you with what uh, the storytelling
Yes.
and the why part of it?
So ecology as a subject is basically its understanding of this natural world.
Right.
The logic or the concepts apply to a forest, also to a garden, because the, the entire ecosystem operates in a very similar way. There's nutrient dynamics, which, by the way, was my PhD research topic. So I was looking at elephants helping in cycling of nutrients in a forest. But when you add compost or you add manure to your pot, gardening for gardening, the concepts are very similar. It's just that you're doing it there, it's happening naturally with the animals. So those concepts which I learned during my PhD, or in the process of reaching to my PhD, my master's or BSc, definitely helped me to understand the why of it, because there's logic for everything.
Right.
It's just that in gardening we generally just tell people about how to part of it, but I think these are ecological concepts that apply anywhere and everywhere whenever we're talking about insects, animals, plants, flowers.
Right. So, I also saw this wonderful thing that you did on your wedding day. You gave away planters to your guests as a return gift. What was
Right.
the idea behind it, and were they all from your personal garden?
so so our wedding, the wedding was a very small affair. Before that we had like a big whatever, like a big celebration, but the wedding was very intimate and very immediate family. So we have a typical in North India, at least, or in at least in Haryana, there's this thing of giving mithai ka dabbas, box of
Right,
sweet,
right. Yes.
which typically everybody does. And my father and me, we were not very interested in giving out that mithai ka dabba, because first my father thinks all the sweet that is made outside is adulterated and is not great quality. He said we should not give mithai whatsoever. We should probably give dry fruits or whatever. But my mother was like, no, how can you have a wedding without mithai ka dabba? You have to give mithai ka dabba on the wedding. So I was like, okay, let's do a mithai ka dabba to, make my mother happy, but also let's do something else along with it to make my father happy.
Acha.
So, and my father, then I told him that how about we, give out plants, because they're very immediate family. They're not a lot of people. They're just like 100, 150 people. We can manage that. So they were satisfied, both agreed. So we have a nursery nearby our house. We asked him to prepare aloe vera and kalankul were two plants that we gave out.
Acha.
Then so, and then I got metal buckets in bulk from somewhere in Muradabad, and then we found out a way to make drainage in those metal buckets. It was quite fun actually, and we had shoe boxes to transfer them to the venue, because we did everything. So we didn't have like a proper carton also to arrange them. And I collected all the shoe boxes possible in the house. And then we kept the buckets. I had put all my cousins to it. It was fun.
Oh wow, that's so wonderful. Because I saw pictures and I'm like, oh, now I'm really intrigued. I want to know the story behind this. So
Yeah.
how has the journey been so far? How was the journey of mutually growing with your tribe?
It's been quite nice, and I really mean it, because when I was doing my PhD, I was not somewhat satisfied, or I would say very happy, because research, at least for me, was something like not going the way I predicted. Because in research, you can assume, you can make hypotheses, but the results that you say actually are the real story. And
Right.
then a lot of times, I think, in fact, most of the times, the results you get, then you have to find out how to justify those results, because most of the things in research do not go the way they plan. So
Oh.
I didn't like this uncertainty in it. And probably by like the fourth year of my PhD, I decided I wanted to do something else, perhaps, and use this in some other creative way. So when I started Garden Up, even when I was doing my PhD in the last 1.5 year, it was something that gave me joy. I was never totally dependent on it in any way. Financially, I was getting my scholarship, but it was like my weekend thing I would do just for myself, like a hobby kind of thing that made me very happy. And then when I finished my PhD and I was looking at options that I would want to pursue, it seemed like something that would give me joy, make me happy, but also be like a sustainable career choice. And I'm very glad that I took that decision. It did take some convincing for my family, because they were like, sorry, what do you want to do? You want to be a YouTuber? I was like, no, 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 don't call it YouTuber. YouTuber alag hota hai. This is, YouTube is one platform, but I can generate so many kinds of things out of it.
Yes.
So it definitely, they were like, but why did you do a PhD then? If you want to be, you could have done with a bachelor's degree. I was like, yeah, but this helps me to understand and explain people. So it did take some convincing, but now this is settled and people do see me. We have come up with a Garden Up store. We do workshops. There are lots of things that we do at Garden Up. We have like a team now, and it's like a proper thing. Now my family in general also understands what I'm doing. And more importantly, I feel very satisfied. I never feel stressed out or burdened with my work. And this has happened to me after a very, very long time. So I really enjoy it and I'm so happy for it.
Oh, so wonderful. I'm glad that you found your path after negating a lot of things. So when you talk about workshops, what is the next workshop that people should look forward to, and what is the theme?
So we conduct workshops right now only for corporates and
Right.
organizations and schools as well. And the reason for that is that individual workshop is something that requires a lot of management on my side. When you
Right.
do with a corporate, then their HR reaches out and they arrange for most of the things, and we have to just conduct the workshop and come up with the content. But when we do it for individual level, we'll have to take care of the bookings, we'll have to take care of the customer care, and we
Right.
don't have a setup right now for that. So we don't do individual workshops as for now. When we do corporate workshop, it totally depends on their requirement, their ask. Sometimes they ask for home gardening. Sometimes they ask for how beginners can start with gardening. Sometimes they ask um, something around sustainability, like what are the basic things that people can do to live sustainably at home.
Right.
So it depends on what they have an idea of what they want for their employees or for their customers as well. There are some people who did for their customers as well. So it
Okay.
depends on their ask. Yes, but it's generally around gardening and sustainability.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So I guess people know what kind of workshops you conduct, and where we'll have to be a part of a corporate to be a part of the workshop
We
for now, but I guess soon.
we would want to get into individual workshops also, but it's just that at least in the lockdown we don't have
Yes,
those
the
resources to
resources.
arrange.
I know.
Yes.
So when you spoke about the basic beginner guide, so what are the common indoor and outdoor plants that you would suggest that are sustainable with minimum maintenance for someone who has a hectic schedule?
Okay. So first of all, I want to clarify there's nothing as indoor and outdoor plant. I mean that, and I want to just explain this here because a lot of times people show me a plant and they're like, oh, is this an outdoor or an indoor plant?
Right.
Now, if you think about it, every plant is an outdoor plant. It's just as humans who brought in the plants indoors and started calling them indoor. So this distinction actually depends on the fact that where can you provide the necessary condition for that plant.
Right.
For example, if there is a tulsi, and tulsi needs about 3 to 4 hours of at least 3 to 4 hours of direct sun. So
Right.
if you have a house, let's say a west facing house where you have a big window and it gets direct sunlight, you can place in tulsi indoors and becomes an indoor plant.
Oh,
So I just, for your audience, I want them to understand that
right, right.
whatever plants I will talk about in this list now depends on where do you provide those conditions.
Correct.
So in the indoor category, I would mostly refer to low light plants,
Mhm,
meaning those plants that can survive without direct light falling on them.
mhm,
And their examples are like aglonema, ZZ plant,
mhm.
snake plant, most of monsteras, and philodendrons.
Okay.
Pothos also, golden pothos, which is the Indian money plant.
Mhm.
Then these are like very easy to care. You don't have to bother so much. And in fact, ZZ plant and snake plant are the ones that even if you don't water them for 14 days, they'll be fine. So people who
Oh,
travel can get them.
acha.
Yes. For outdoors, meaning the plants that need a lot of sun,
Right.
I would say go with some simple flowers that do
Mhm,
well in India. Like, for example, Sadabahar is Vinca is one plant across the country does well.
mhm.
Then oleander, which is kaner, is a flower. It also does well from north to south of India. It does
Mhm.
well. And in veggies, I would say any gourds like uh, your bottle gourd or your bitter gourd, any of the gourds, any of the pumpkins and cucumbers, you can try with. But if you're a beginner, I would say first start with that indoor category of plants
Right.
and then move to edibles, because then it gets a little difficult and complicated in the
Right.
sense that they need hand pollination and stuff. So start with the indoor ones and then move to veggies. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. I think people will listen to it, and if they're planning, they know which plant to start with. So there's this one question that my mom asked actually. So she's very scared of keeping the plants inside because they tend to cause mosquitoes to fester. Is that true?
Mhm. Yes. So I get this question a lot.
Uh-huh.
And see, the reason is that mostly when people keep the soil wet
Mhm,
or saturated with water, it will attract mosquitoes.
mhm,
So the trick is that first go with plants that do not require a lot of water,
mhm.
and or plants that do not require moist soil at times. The
Okay.
second thing is also that many a times people just keep watering their plants even when it's not required.
Hmm.
So also make sure that you're not over watering your plants, which is keeping the soil moist at all times, which is attracting the mosquitoes. If the soil is not wet at all times, there will be no mosquitoes, because mosquitoes need some moist substrate to lay eggs. They will
Right.
not do it on dry soil. So the thing is that try it out with the plants like snake plant, succulents, ZZ plant, etc., and
Mhm,
Syngonium money plant. And if you feel that yes, it definitely has changed things and mosquitoes are not coming,
mhm.
then graduate to other plants. But honestly, I have like over 50 or 60 indoor plants and we don't have any mosquito problem.
Yeah, actually, I showed my mom the home video that you have created on YouTube, which
Right.
you posted. So I showed it to her. See, look at the number of plants she has inside the house. It is quite possible. So yeah, so I'm glad that you answered this, and I hope she's happy about it. So so how did you learn about the various hiccups that are associated with growing plants? You know, from the type of fertilizer to how much sunlight is required. Did you learn it by theory or by trial and error?
It's trial and error, because I'm sure there's so many other things I'm missing out on.
Uh-huh.
Uh, because I haven't experienced them. And I think when you experience them, only then you can come up with, the solution for it. So whatever gardening experience I have is either from my childhood, whatever, because I was growing up in Noida, which is Delhi NCR actually. It comes
Right.
in UP.
Uh-huh.
And we had pomegranate trees, we had guava, we had lots of flowers.
Wow.
And my job was to give them water, because at least in 90s, I don't know, probably I think between 95 or whatever, 96, 97,
Uh-huh.
even Delhi NCR didn't have electric water supply 24 hours. I don't
Oh.
know about the rest part of the country, but
Uh-huh.
so there was this particular time in the evening and a particular time in the morning when
Morning.
water will come for 2 to 3 hours. You can fill in your matkas, you can fill in your buckets and everything, and there's like a storage. Uh, what do you say, like a tank above
Tank.
the
Yeah.
house or above the
Right.
building, that will be filled and you have to use that for the entire day, right? That used to
Right.
be, I think, I'm pretty sure it's still there
It's still
the
there. It's
same way in a lot of
there even
cities.
now, even in Pune, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that now tank sizes have increased, so we don't realize that.
Exactly.
So what people would do when the fresh water will come in the evening, they'll
Uh-huh.
water their plants, they'll fill in the water to drink,
Mm.
etc. So when the water would come in the evening, my job was to water all the plants. And I had like this tiny bucket. I think I must have been like 6, 7 years old. And I had to every time go to the tap, fill in that bucket, then go and water all the plants.
Oh,
So that was my job. I think this was my first, I don't know,
tryst with
first,
nature, kind
yes,
of. Yeah.
yes, yeah. So that is the earliest memory of gardening in my life. And I think whatever I've seen with plants since then to this age is what I try to share in the videos. But I'm
Mhm.
sure that there are so many other things that I'm yet to cover and talk about that I haven't tried out. For example, bonsai, because I have a huge request
Right.
for bonsai. There's so many people asking, but uh, I tell them that bonsai is like a proper art. People
Huh.
have a proper skill to do that. I
Uh-huh.
don't think I'm equipped enough. I also went to Japan on some fellowship once for a month,
Right.
and there outside Tokyo, there was this village where everybody did bonsai. There were like bonsai trees outside everyone's house.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
there I saw these 90-year plus men doing bonsai, like it was like a proper, just say we do embroidery, right? Here in
Huh.
India, they were doing bonsai, whatever.
Oh.
So I felt that this is like an art form that requires respect, and I don't think I know enough to touch this subject. So I've restrained myself to talk about it. I mean, in theoretically, I can definitely tell, how it works and what are the steps, etc.
Right.
But I feel that somebody who really has the experience can tell it better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. So, well, you spoke about pollination. So, what are the basic tools that one should have if someone is planning to step into gardening?
Basic tools would be actually nothing
Okay.
except for soil and pot. If you don't have a luxury of a garden, then you need a pot, or a bucket also would do.
Okay.
So you just have to get some soil from outdoors, put it in that bucket or in a mug or whatever you have to contain that soil, and put the seeds. Even if you don't have seeds, use the tomato that you have at home, cut it, put it in soil, and let the seeds sprout. To loosen the soil, you can definitely buy like a proper tool for it. There are kinds of tool, trowel, fork, etc. But if anything sharp would do. So I feel that one should not wait to get the tools for it. Just start, try it out, and once you start, you get into it and you understand how things work, then you can definitely start investing money in it, and get better tools and things that make it easier. But as a beginner, I would say that don't look for investing in tools,
Right.
rather just start something. Yes,
Wonderful.
you can even start with like a money plant cutting you can get from your neighbor or from outdoors. Yeah.
Yes, we have done that. We've lined up our windowsill with money plants. So it just requires water, right? It doesn't even
Yes,
require soil. You can just put it in a bottle of water.
right,
That's what we've been doing.
right. That's
Um,
awesome.
so, what are the setups that you have in your balcony garden, from irrigation to compost? Do you have any drip irrigation setups? Or
Yes.
okay.
So now I moved to Mumbai about 1.5 years back. So
Mhm.
that's when I properly started composting at home. So we have a compost bin where we dump all our kitchen waste, the vegetable waste,
Mhm.
and we have yes, I have a self irrigation system now, because
Okay.
outdoors I think I have about 50, 60 plants,
Right.
pots.
Uh-huh.
So, and some pots also have multiple plants like palak and all. So
Acha.
in that case, it just gets difficult for me to water them, even especially in summers that might need watering twice. So I
Hmm.
have this proper system which comes with like a timer, and it's yeah, it's a self-timed irrigation system. So
Okay.
I have a compost bin, I have self irrigation. What else do I have? I think I have these two.
Yeah. Okay.
Like professional stuff for gardening, I think are these two things.
Huh.
And of course, some tools. Now I have like fancy 3 kinds of scissors or whatever, cutters.
Right.
Uh, Although I do still go for scissor, like a paper scissor, because I can't find all the other three generally. Uh, the real ones that are required, like the pruners. But whenever I actually need them, I have to go and get the paper scissors because I just can't find those pruners ever. And but I've invested like in really good pruners, thinking कि अब तो मैं एकदम इसी से काटूंगी पौधों को, but that never worked out. So yes, I think I have just these things,
I've
and
seen
yes,
those.
watering
I've seen
can.
the scissors on your videos for sure.
I never find them. Whenever I have to use them, I never find them.
But as long as it is serving the purpose, chalo catch easy.
Right. Yes. I've
So
also got watering cans now. I really like collecting watering cans, so I have watering cans as well.
I've seen them. They are really beautiful. The ones you found, the orange one, it's like really pretty.
Yes.
Uh,
I in fact, sorry, go ahead.
no. Continue.
No, when I travel abroad, so the first time I went to US, there's a place called Target, which
Huh.
is like a big home departmental store. So the thing I bought from there was watering can.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Nice, wonderful. So you have your priorities right. Even if I travel, I want something
Right.
related to garden now. So,
Yeah.
so this is one thing that my father wanted to ask now. I'm getting into my family business. So he
Sure.
asked that if we grow plants on the terrace, how do we combat the leaks that it might cause?
Yeah. So if you're growing them in pots, put
Right.
a drainage plate under them.
Okay.
Always use a drainage plate.
Mhm.
I do that. And otherwise, if people are like doing like a big terrace gardening where they've spread out soil in big containers, or people also make with concrete structures
Right.
to put soil in it and grow stuff. In
Mhm.
that case, you will have to do a lining. There is this plastic lining that comes, you can put in with the concrete linter,
Oh,
the roofing.
right.
But for generally home gardening setups where people just use pots, there
Hmm.
are drainage plates available for every size. So whenever you buy a pot, ask that garden center or nursery person that give me a drainage plate for the same pot. So generally that's what I do. Whenever I buy a pot,
Mhm.
I get a drainage plate. You get it in all kinds. You get it for terracotta, you get it for plastic.
Oh.
And if nothing else, then just use that frisbee, right, that frisbee plate that people used to play frisbee with.
Yes.
So those are quite big. I think they're probably 12 inches in diameter,
Huh.
and they also work well. I've
Okay.
collected a lot of frisbees. So yes, they're colorful. So they're colorful
Yeah, they
drainage
look
plates.
also nice in the garden, right?
Right.
Is it true that plants can hear us and we should talk to them?
I don't know about that. I've definitely come across research which
Right.
says that you can sing to plants and they respond by their growth patterns change.
Huh.
But we'll have to take the word of the researchers. I have no idea. I don't talk to them. I don't sing to them. Definitely. Yes, I
No,
think that'll be
that
like
is what I
another level
wanted to
of.
know. No, because we have a
No, no.
jackfruit tree, and so that jackfruit tree is around 30 plus years old, and we were not
Uh-huh.
getting any jackfruits for a very long time. So my uncle asked my mom to shame it. So you have to go और उसको मतलब डांट लगानी है. तो मम्मी जाके डांट लगाती है उसको कि
Oh,
इतना बड़ा हो गया अभी भी फल नहीं दिए, and it actually worked. Okay, so we got 3 jackfruits this year. So
uh,
I just
I don't
wanted
know.
to know whether it works.
So the research I came across that became very popular said that they respond to vibrations in music. I'm
Oh.
not sure कि हमारी ऐसे इंडियन भाषाओं में अगर हम उन्हें डांट लगाए तो वो समझते हैं या नहीं, I don't know. इंडियन या कहीं की भी भाषा में डांट लगाना, I don't know. I do understand the musical notes could be something that affect, but interesting. I should try this out.
I don't know. It worked actually. Mummy literally झाड़ू लेके गई थी like कैसी how dare you, and I'm like oh maybe like हम पे गया होगा. उसने बोला डांट नहीं लगाई अभी तक तो मैं फल ही क्यों दूँ.
Wow, this is amazing. I should try it sometime.
Maybe you should. Maybe it will work out.
Yeah.
So how have you been spending your day? What is your typical day like now?
So, as I said, because we have so many things at Garden Up, I have to do a lot of management work. I have to do a lot of storekeeping for a store. I
Uh-huh.
have to shoot videos. Sometimes I edit, sometimes I outsource. We have to take pictures,
Right.
and um, um, yes, and I have to do a lot of research also when I come up with a script. So
Mhm.
what I basically do is that I try and divide times of a day
Okay.
depending on my productivity
Mhm.
around across the day. So I generally start with phone calls and meetings, and a lot of people also approach with their business ideas to see if
Hmm.
they can expand or they can collaborate, sort of thing. So
Right.
we try and do that by 11 a.m. or so. And
Mhm.
then because I'm not very productive in the mornings, and then I move to doing my productive stuff. So we also do online consultation, personalized consultations.
Oh.
So if that is also there in my schedule, so that also I try to fix either in the morning or in the evening, so that I have like the daytime 11 to 4 or whatever, 5 to 3 for me,
Mhm.
so that I can do the real stuff which actually defines garden up, or my whatever the setup we have.
Okay.
And we have also divided days, like the brand stuff we try to do on a particular day, because we have to also constantly talk to brands when they reach out for promotions, or when they want us to make content for them. We do third party content also. So
Mhm.
let's say there is a decor Instagram whatever, and they want us to set up their profile or develop pictures for them. A lot of people, because right now like Instagram or whatever social media has become the thing
Right.
for these brands to sell themselves. So if and this helps us to sustain ourselves for financially speaking. So we
Correct.
when we have to do this content as well, so this all content making and all this planning is what goes between 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then again the day ends with calls and days. I've defined that this day I'll do this day I'll do that.
Uh-huh.
And I think I was telling you on the phone the other day that
Yeah.
probably I have like 5 different apps to manage everything,
Yes.
because I have for our company also have to do the account keeping part as well. Of course, we have a CA, but I have to send him everything, and everything has to be properly done.
Mhm.
So yes, so I have like apps for everything possible. And whenever I'm talking to anyone, I'm like, अच्छा कोई app use कर रहे हो? कौन सी use कर रहे हो? So that I am I'm on the top of it. Like मुझे सब पता हो कि क्या चल रहा है, कि क्या क्या resources है. Because I feel that if you have a resource to take care
Correct.
of whatever that thing you need, then
Uh-huh.
just get something, an app or whatever, to fix it rather than doing everything manually. It just makes
True.
life easy and more efficient.
Yes, and thank you. Because of your research, I came to know of one other app that I can also use. I've
Yeah.
definitely started using it.
Yeah,
Man.
everything. I feel planning just makes life. In fact, uh, I, I mean, our life is so planned that even to the level that खाने में क्या बनेगा, grocery कब खरीदनी है, is also
Oh.
on our calendar, because my husband is also working and he manages the team. He works for the corporate sector, so and you have to
Right.
clean the house, you have to wash clothes and whatever. So everything like to the T is on a calendar somewhere.
Yes. So someone gets a notification कि सब्जी लेके आना है, so it's your duty now. Go
Uh,
get bhaji.
yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
everything is like planned out.
right.
Yeah.
So Ekta, you mentioned that even when you went to the US, you got a watering can.
Right.
So, and you've mentioned a lot that you like collecting different things from different places which you've visited. So, which is your
Right.
most prized possession till date?
Mm, I don't know about the prized thing, honestly. Mm, I think my plants are probably prized possessions, because we were considering going home. Because we were like, I don't know when the lockdown will get over. We haven't seen our family. I haven't seen my family for a year.
Oh,
So, but then I was like, मेरे पौधे मर जाएंगे. I can't. What if lockdown extends? And I can't come back. So I think my plants are definitely my prize possession. And now since I've invested in video making so much, definitely I don't want to lose my camera either.
Right. So yeah, okay, wonderful. So you also spoke about launching your own website and Garden Up store. So how did you come up with it, and whom do you source the products from?
So, Garden Up store actually started because I realized that in gardening, the gardening actually overlaps a lot with the decor niche.
Right.
And decor, when I started about, it's been a year now, the Garden Up store,
Mhm.
mostly looked at various other kinds of a decoration for the house, but not specifically about plants. And
Right.
I feel when you want to put those indoor plants or you invest in those indoor plants, some plants are really expensive. So
Mhm.
people would want to display them in a certain way. You don't want to keep it in that plastic pot. You want to put that out in a nicer pot, or you
Right.
want to hang it nicely. So this actually started when I couldn't find the right kind of products. Where
Mhm.
the way I wanted and at the price that I wanted or the make I wanted.
Mhm.
So that made me to look out for people who make those kinds of things. And what I realized very quickly was that very good quality, very stylish things were already being made in India, were mostly exported, because I get this so much from our relatives and friends who stay abroad. They're like, oh, all these nice quality things, decoration, the rug or the metal plant that we get, everything is made in India. And
Oh.
then I was like, "Ye India mein kyun nahi milta bhai?"
Mhm.
So I realized that there was probably not like a huge market. Only recently the market for home improvement and gardening sector perhaps has uh, emerged in India, at
Right.
least for the middle class.
That's true.
Probably it existed for the upper class, and I wasn't aware of. So so that's how it started. It took me a lot of time to find the vendors,
Mhm.
because these were people who were exporting and they were not interested in Indian market, because they were like कि India में price नहीं देंगे लोग, sort of
बराबर.
thing. So जैसे वो होता है ना कि जो बहुत अच्छा मैंगो है वो एक्सपोर्ट हो जाता है, या
हाँ.
एप्पल है जो एक्सपोर्ट हो जाता है, और गंदा वाला वो रख लेते हैं या whatever, like lower quality they
थोड़ा
were looking
subpar
for India,
quality.
because because they're like कि India में price नहीं मिलेगा and you get it only in like very expensive hi-fi grocery stores.
Right.
So that's how I went about looking for vendors. It took a lot of time, but now since this year,
Mhm.
I have found the best kind of people who make those products. We mostly go in partnership basis,
Right.
where we tell that whom we are partnering with.
Mhm.
We and the idea is basically to support people who make things in India.
Mhm.
And recently only this made in India and not don't buy things made in China started. But when I started the store about a year back, my values were very clear that I wanted everything made in India, because this is how I feel about it. I want to promote things that are made in my country, because I do feel that our quality and our aesthetics are quite of some standard.
Right.
It's just that probably we don't get enough platforms to show our work out. So that's and now we are probably working with about 7 to 8 vendors,
Okay.
and June is when we closed everything and we concentrated specifically on our Garden Up store. And now in July we are every week coming up with a new product, so it's quite exciting. I'm actually looking forward to it. So yes.
Wow, wonderful. I think people who are in the interior designing sector will also get some ideas from there. Uh,
I hope
hopefully, my
so.
friends will. So, so Ekta, you also propagate sustainable living. So, in what ways do you
Right.
practice it, and why would you suggest that everyone follows the same?
I practice it because I feel guilty otherwise. That's the most honest answer I can give. Because I know that there is an alternate for it, and if I don't use that alternate, I'll definitely feel guilty that why am I doing this? Why am I creating this unnecessary waste? So that is something that inspires me to be sustainable, and that's all. I mean, of course, I have been an environment science student, but at an individual, at a personal level, you every day face things like ये प्लास्टिक वाला गार्बेज बैग यूज कर लूं, एक दिन कर लेती हूँ, इट जस्ट विल बी कन्वीनियंट, कल न्यूज़पेपर में डाल दूंगी या कल वो बायोडिग्रेडेबल वाला यूज कर लूंगी, दैट सॉर्ट ऑफ थिंग. सो एवरी लेवल, every day you feel, you face these problems. So
Right.
at an individual level, I don't want to feel guilty uh, that I knew there was an option, and despite that I did that. So that's the reason. And I think there are a lot of people like me out there. It's just that people don't know right now what are the alternatives available in the market.
True. That is.
And it's just about awareness, and people share this out that, hey, I'm using this and this. You can also try it, rather than just preaching that be sustainable, don't use plastic bag, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the initiative where your products are sold packaged in a cloth bag instead of using plastic. So
Yes,
that is
we
one
try
thing.
to, but there is, as I said, that we are always looking for alternates. But for example, we're coming up with ceramic products. There we don't have a choice. We have to go, because they're big ceramic products, they're expensive.
Right.
And when you do business, you have to also make sure that it doesn't become a cost. And in
Mhm.
that case, then we have to go for a bubble wrap. So we try and make sure that, as much possible. But also, for example, in rains,
Hmm.
you have to use a plastic bag of some form.
Right.
There are a lot of options for that, but so that it doesn't get wet. And because when the customer will receive it and open it, and if it's damaged or if it's not in the best condition, you lose a customer. So we have to also somehow manage that. So that's why we're constantly looking for alternates and ensuring that we do not generate plastic waste as much
Mhm.
possible.
Wonderful, wonderful. I hope people also start doing that and become more sustainable. Ekta, how many people are there in your team? What are their roles?
So we have uh, three permanent or four permanent people. We have somebody who takes care of operations. We have somebody who takes care of our business development,
Mm.
and it's me. And apart from that, we outsource everything. We hire whenever there's a project, because it's a small company. I don't like to say startup really, because I don't know what startup really means. I mean, either you're a business or you're not a business. Um, so we are definitely a company. We haven't taken loan from anyone to start this company or any sort of investment. So
Right.
I don't know if it fits into that startup profile, or probably I'm not aware enough with these terminologies. So we definitely want to minimize our risk, and we want to ensure that whosoever is permanently involved with it is paid. So with these constraints in mind, we are three people primarily, and whenever a project comes, whenever there is need, we hire a lot of people. So
Okay.
we always have about 4 to 5 freelancers working with us for various other things.
Oh, wonderful. So you have
Yeah.
everything sorted. So what do you feel the benefits have been of gardening in your life?
I think it brought in calm for sure, especially during my PhD time,
Right.
when I needed something to just, make me happy. It was not a very great time. I think I was just not enjoying it, and I wanted some sort of distraction from, those results which were not coming out the way it was. It was sort of very sad, and I was like, I just want something to, uplift my mood. So it was definitely plants. And for me, every day I wake up, I go to my balcony, I check them out, what's going on.
Mhm.
I'm I've worked very hard to get bees, pollinators in my balcony, because we are on a 12th floor in Mumbai, and
Yeah.
there were not a lot of bees. But now in the morning when I wake up and I go, I see so many bees. This makes me really happy. So I think yes, it brings me a sense of accomplishment. It brings me a sense of calm and joy as well.
Oh, wow. So I have seen a lot of your videos, and honestly, just looking at your videos and the pictures that you put up, anyone can feel that sense of calm because of that greenery around. And I think people should start
Thank
gardening,
you.
hopefully. So, any message that you would like to give gardeners who are just starting their journey?
It's a process of hit and trial. If you kill a plant, it's all right. Everybody does. I kill a plant, and if at all there's anybody out there who says I have to perfected it and I don't kill plants anymore, that's a lie. You kill plants every time, and it's a process. You over time, when you keep doing it, you develop an intuition. You
Right.
understand what that plant needs, what it doesn't need,
Uh-huh.
and it's okay. If it dies, try it again. If it dies again, then try it again. uh, that's all right. It's a process of life. And if that plant dies, it will be a part of nutrient cycling. It will cycle and come back to life. So you don't have to be so sad about it. It's all right. Just try it again.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Learn by trial and error. So don't give up,
Yes.
basically. So
Yeah.
coming to the end of my interview, I want to ask you this final question. What is your definition of settled? Since the podcast is called Unsettling, I ask people what is their definition of settled.
What is my definition? My phone has this Android, I think, has this setting where you have one wallpaper which says never settle.
Yes.
And it's such a coincidence that I have that as my wallpaper for probably over a year now, which says never settle. And I just happen to be here with you
Yay!
on a show which says which
Be
talks about
unsettled.
exactly about the unsettled, which exactly talks about that. So for me, settle, I don't think I want to feel settled. I know that Indian traditional family thing is like settle ho jao beta sort of
Yeah.
thing. But I don't know what do they mean by settle ho jao.
Right.
Probably they mean like get a government job, have children, the typical
Exactly.
Indian middle class. Our parents are like settle ho jaye bas ye. So I'm elder to, I mean, I'm the older one and I have a younger brother, and I remember my mother always saying bas meri beti settle ho jaye na. So
Huh.
I don't know. I should ask her if she feels that I'm settled now. So I would say that never settle, because if you constantly have that feeling of doing something, of exploring the unexplored for yourself,
Right.
uh, it'll probably make life so much fun, I guess.
That's true.
I don't want to feel settled ever. Like, I want to do so many things and I want to try so many things, because otherwise it'll be boring and I'll feel sad. I don't want to do that. I want like a constant change in my life. I don't want to be settled. I think entrepreneurship is sort of being unsettled,
True.
if you think about it. Yeah.
That is true. Because every day is a new challenge and every day is something that you don't know how it is
Yes.
going to turn out to be.
Y- Yes, because every day you're negotiating and trying to find a way forward. And I
Right.
feel, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even in your like a proper household life, everyday life, with your
Right.
uh, relationships, with things you have to do at home, you are still trying to find or negotiate the way forward. And that works for you. So I don't think there's anything as settled. Yeah.
Okay. So everyone believes in the unsettling. That is why they are on the podcast. Thank you. So thank
I
you. Thank you for
thank
coming
you
on
so
my
much for
podcast.
having me.
It's one thing is for sure, reaching out to you and researching about the work that you do has made me intrigued about gardening. So it's quite possible that in the near future, I am a diligent member of your tribe. And
So
thank you
glad.
so much for doing this with me. It's
It was a pleasure.
honestly, it's therapeutic what you do. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you so much.
And I just hope everyone who has not yet visited Gardner website or her YouTube channel, you should definitely go check just for the therapy.
Thank you so much. It's so sweet of you, Amrita. And
Thank you.
I'm so glad that you're doing something like this, because everybody definitely talks about, you know, and things like, okay, how you're doing things now. But there are
Right.
very few people who actually talk about, okay, whatever you're doing, abhi theek hai. But what is that process, or what is that life before you came up with this idea, which
Yes.
actually sort of helps people to understand that uh, it narrates a person's story. I really enjoy knowing things, knowing stories about people, because I feel that this journey, or before that idea came to you, which made you known to people, is
Correct.
what laid the foundation for it.
Exactly.
And that might look like a very regular, monotonous life, but that is what probably paved the path for whatever people are doing right now.
Exactly. That is the entire idea behind starting this, because I realize that all the success stories, right? When everyone's
Yeah.
successful, they've broken the barrier, and then you get a chance to read about them. Oh, they're finally successful, but how did they achieve that? And as a person who was like an outsider, when you look in, you feel that it was very easy to achieve, and you don't know the backstory. You don't know how much the person struggled, or what was the process behind coming behind the idea, and the passion that they have for these tiny things, right, which is very infectious. So, and I enjoy talking to people, and I definitely enjoy talking to you a lot. uh, and
Thank you
you've
so much.
inspired me a tiny bit, so I feel that I'm going to take this inspiration, keep it with me, and I'm going to use it in my life, which I already started, by the way. I have a drawing board now, which I did.
Oh.
So I created a drawing board after seeing your videos. I'm like, wow, this is like the desk space I want. And I would definitely
That's
want to start with it.
That's fantastic. I'm not sure if I'm at that level the way you were talking about me in inspiration. I think I'm yet to reach any certain stage where I can actually inspire people. But I do understand that, when you look at others' story, you also think that, there's so many things that, like tiny, tiny things that
Yes.
inspire you, your general life or the way of doing things.
Well, you
Yeah.
have been inspiring people. I don't know whether you know it, but then you have inspired me. So I don't know how many people you have been reaching out to, but you definitely have been. So thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on my podcast. It has been a wonderful, wonderful discussion.
Thank you. It was amazing. Thank you so much.
Hello, people. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this episode and you like Unsettling, all you have to do is give me a feedback. And for that, please visit my Instagram page, that is Amrita Sukumar _unsettling. And well, you can send me a DM or you can send me a mail. All the details are there on that page. I would love for you to just tell me how you feel. Yeah. And I will get back to you. And if you have any people who would like to share their stories, you have to let me know because I would love to listen to them. Till then, stay tuned to Unsettling. Like, share, subscribe, follow, let your friends know, and stay safe. Yeah? Bye.